Latest on the tensions in the Middle East. The United Nations human rights chief has told the Security Council that the targeting of thousands of people in Lebanon with exploding pagers and walkie-talkies was a violation of international law. The attacks are widely considered to have been carried out by Israel, but Israeli officials haven't commented directly on the allegations. Volker Türk said he was appalled by the breadth and impact of the attacks, which left at least 37 dead and thousands injured. Hezbollah has confirmed that its senior military commander, Ibrahim Aqil, was among those killed in Friday's Israeli airstrike on a building in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Israeli envoy at the UN, Danny Danon, did not mention the exploding pagers, but said his country would do whatever it took to defend itself. Let's have a listen then to those comments from the UN human rights chief, Volker Türk.
These attacks represent a new development in warfare, where communication tools become weapons, simultaneously exploding across marketplaces, on street corners, and in homes as daily life unfolds. Authorities have reportedly dismantled unexploded devices in universities, banks, and hospitals. This has unleashed widespread fear, panic, and horror among people in Lebanon.
Well, at the same meeting, the United Nations Political Affairs Chief, Rosemary DiCarlo, warned that the Middle East is at risk of a conflict that could dwarf the devastation witnessed in the region so far.
As we approach a full year of near-daily exchanges of fire across the Blue Line and bloodshed in Gaza, too many lives have been lost, too many people have been displaced, and too many livelihoods have been destroyed. But if things continue as they are, we risk seeing a conflagration that could dwarf even the devastation and suffering witnessed so far. It's not too late to avoid such folly. There is still room for diplomacy, which must be used without delay.
Well, as we said, Israel's representative to the UN, Danny Danon, didn't mention the exploding pagers and walkie-talkies directly, but stressed Israel's right to defend itself.
And we will not allow Hezbollah's terror to dictate the future of our nation. If Hezbollah does not retreat from our border and back to the north of the Litani River through diplomatic efforts, Israel will be left with no choice but to use any means within our rights to defend our citizens and enable the evacuees of the north to return to their homes.
Well, the Security Council meeting came after the militant group Hezbollah confirmed one of its top leaders, Ibrahim Aqil, had been killed in Beirut. Israel said it was a targeted strike. Lebanon says 14 people were killed. In the latest cross-border exchange of fire, Hezbollah also launched more than 100 rockets into Israel. Our senior international correspondent, Orla Guerin, reports now from Beirut.
This footage captures the moment of the attack in the heartland of Hezbollah. The skyline looks like a city at war. Israel hit hard without warning in the densely populated residential district of Dahia, calling this a precision strike. The target was the veteran Hezbollah military leader, Ibrahim Aqil. Israel said he had been eliminated, along with about 10 commanders of an elite unit.
At the time of the strike, Aqil and the commanders of the Radwan forces were gathered underground, under a residential building in the heart of the Dahia in Beirut, hiding among Lebanese civilians, using them as human shields. They were in the middle of planning more terror attacks against Israeli civilians.
Aqil had plenty of enemies. The US had put a $7 million bounty on his head, accusing him of involvement in the killing of Americans in Beirut in the 1980s. Day after day now, Hezbollah is being hit and being weakened by warfare from a distance. We were repeatedly prevented from reaching the scene by locals and the Lebanese army. vehicles have been coming and going. We've counted at least 10 ambulances coming up and down the road, going to pick up casualties. The dead are still being counted. There's a lot of anger here, a lot of tension. This was another major strike on Hezbollah here in its stronghold in South Beirut. Tonight, rescue workers still digging in the rubble for people who lived here. Among the missing, 4-year-old Naya Ghazi, a threat to no one. Orla Guerin, BBC News, Beirut.
Our Middle East correspondent Hugo Bachega is in Beirut and says people are very anxious.
I think we're seeing here an escalation in these hostilities between Hezbollah and Israel, and it's been a humiliating few days for Hezbollah. I was in Dahir yesterday near the site of this airstrike, and Hezbollah members were obviously very nervous, but some of them looked incredulous because this Israeli airstrike hit their stronghold here in Beirut, a place many people consider to be safe, and it isn't. And obviously this happened just days after those explosions targeting hundreds, if not thousands of pages, walkie-talkies used by the group. So another major setback for Hezbollah. They lost a number of senior commanders in that attack yesterday, including Ibrahim Aqil, who has been described as a senior commander in the Radwan unit of Hezbollah, which is Hezbollah's elite unit. So another major blow for Hezbollah. And obviously the question today here is about how the group is going to respond. Hezbollah doesn't have many options to give a significant response without sparking a major war with Israel. And Hezbollah has given indications that it doesn't want a major confrontation with Israel. This group is supported by Iran. For Iran, it is vital to have a strong Hezbollah here in Lebanon, right next to Israel. So obviously Iran also doesn't see any reason for a major conflict between Hezbollah and Israel. But obviously in Israel, what authorities are saying is that these attacks are just the beginning.
Yes, we're also hearing from the Israel's UN envoy last night saying that it doesn't seek a wider conflict, but at the same time, as you're saying that Israel will use any means to defend its citizens. In terms of the likelihood of some sort of ground incursion, what are people there sensing on the likelihood of that?
Yeah, I think people here in Lebanon are very concerned that this is the beginning of a wider Israeli offensive against Hezbollah that could even include a ground invasion of southern Lebanon. This is an area of Lebanon where Hezbollah is active. This is where, this is a place from where Hezbollah has been launching those rockets, those drones at Israel. And the Israeli authorities are saying that they are now determined to push Hezbollah away from the border, to guarantee the return of tens of thousands of residents who've been displaced from communities in northern Israel because of this violence, because of these attacks from Hezbollah. I think it will be very interesting to hear from Hassan Nasrallah, the powerful head of Hezbollah, and get his reaction to these latest developments. But the mood here in Lebanon is one of extreme tension, anxiety. I think in some places there's even panic because nobody knows what is going to happen. And again, people are telling us that they believe everything is possible now.
Hugo Bachega for us there in Beirut.